In the glittering spires of the alien capital, where ships hovered like silver birds and the sky pulsed with the soft glow of two suns, a princess waited. She sat in the grand hall, her form delicate and still, her limbs not as fluid as those of her sisters, her movements marked by the subtle tremor of a body burdened by weakness. Around her, the halls buzzed with activity ambassadors, nobles, and suitors from countless star systems had come to seek her favor. Yet each approached her with hesitation, offering polite bows and carefully chosen words, only to withdraw when they glimpsed her conditioned out. She had been born with a disability that made her different from others of her kind. Though her mind was sharp and her spirit unbroken, still, in a society that prized strength, speed, and grace, she was seen as fragile, incomplete. Her siblings, radiant and gifted, drew attention easily. Crowds cheered for them during public events, while she remained in the shadows, a quiet figure in the corner, overlooked and underestimated dot on this particular day. The air of the hall was thick with expectation. A bonding ceremony was to take place, a union between one of the royal daughters and a chosen partner. In their culture, such bonds were sacred, connecting minds and spirits in ways that went beyond simple companionship. Each princess was expected to select a suitor, but when it came to the disabled princess, none dared approach. They feared the judgment of their peers, the whispers of inferiority, and the challenge of connecting with someone deemed weak. The princess watched them all with a mixture of patience and resignation. She had grown accustomed to their avoidance, to the polite refusals that left her untouched by hope. She understood their hesitation, yet it hurt all the same. She longed not for pity, nor for grandeur, but for someone who could see her for who she truly was. And then a human arrived. He stepped into the hall with an ease that surprised many, his uniform simple, his demeanor calm but confident. Where others had faltered, he moved forward without hesitation, his gaze steady and unafraid. Whispers followed him. Humans were rare here, their kind considered unpredictable and often underestimated. Yet he did not falter, that the princess felt a flutter of curiosity as he approached. He stopped before her, not with grand gestures or exaggerated courtesy, but with a sincerity that radiated from every movement. He knelt slightly, not out of subservience, but as a gesture of respect. "I have traveled far," he said, his voice steady, "and I have seen much. I have watched your people celebrate strength, speed, and brilliance. I have seen the fear in the eyes of those who judge too quickly. But I do not judge as they do. I see you." The princess blinked, unaccustomed to such directness. Many had spoken in flowery phrases or cautious compliments, but this human spoke plainly, without pretense or fear. "Will you join with me?" he asked. "Will you allow me to bond with you, to share this connection?" The hall fell silent. Courtiers held their breath. Even the other suitors froze, uncertain how to react. No human had ever been so bold, and none had dared offer such a simple, sincere request. The princess's heart raced. She had long imagined this moment, dreamed of someone who would see beyond the surface, yet she had almost stopped believing it possible. And now, here he was, a stranger from a distant world, asking for her trust, offering acceptance without conditions. Slowly, she nodded. Her voice was soft but firm. "Yes, I will join with you." The human smiled, a warmth in his eyes that reached across the alien court and into her soul. He extended his hand, and she took it, feeling the spark of energy that marked the beginning of a true bond. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced. The world seemed to shimmer. Colors deepened, and a gentle warmth spread through her chest. The courtiers gasped. Whispers rippled through the hall. Some could not understand why a human would choose her, and why she, in turn, would accept. But the bond was more than appearances. It was trust, mutual recognition. and the merging of spirit and mind in ways that transcended mere physicality. As the ceremony continued, the human remained attentive, adjusting to the rhythms of her body, matching his energy to hers. Others might have been intimidated, overwhelmed by her limitations, but he adapted naturally, valuing her intelligence, her courage, her insight. He did not see weakness. He saw the brilliance of her mind, the strength of her character, and the beauty of her resilience. In the days that followed, their bond deepened. They trained together, not as master and student, but as partners, sharing strategies, insights, and dreams. He taught her new techniques, demonstrating patience and innovation, while she showed him the intricacies of her culture, the nuances of her people, and the depth of her understanding. Word of their partnership spread quickly. Initially, many remained skeptical, unable to comprehend how a human could bond with a princess thought untouchable. But as observers watched them, they began to see something extraordinary. The princess, once hesitant and overshadowed, moved with newfound confidence. Her voice grew strong, her laughter lightened the corridors, and her eyes sparkled with the joy of someone finally recognized for who she truly was. Even the other princesses noticed. They approached cautiously at first, curious about the bond that defied tradition. Yet they could not help but admire the human's respect and devotion. He did not seek to change her, to mold her into an ideal, nor did he diminish his own identity. Together, they formed a partnership built on equality, mutual admiration, and understanding. The alien court, rigid in its hierarchy and conventions, began to shift. The elders debated, the ambassadors speculated, and the nobles whispered, but slowly acceptance grew. They witnessed the strength that arose not from perfection or unbroken form, but from unity, trust, and the courage to look beyond appearances. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon and cast the hall in gold and violet, the princess and the human sat together on a balcony overlooking the city. Ships glided across the sky like fireflies, and the wind carried the scent of distant worlds. "I never thought anyone would see me," she said quietly, leaning slightly on his shoulder. "I have spent my life waiting for someone who would care for more than what I cannot do." He took her hand in his, squeezing gently. "I have seen you from the moment I arrived, and I knew then that you were more remarkable than anyone else I had ever met. Your strength is not measured by what you can or cannot do, but by who you are." Tears formed in her eyes, not of sorrow, but of relief and joy. She had long believed that she would be forever overlooked, yet here was someone who had chosen her freely, without fear or hesitation. In the weeks that followed, their bond became a symbol of change. Children in the streets whispered of the human and the princess, dreaming of courage and acceptance. Scholars wrote of the bond's uniqueness, analyzing its significance and implications. And even among the most rigid factions of the court, admiration began to replace doubt. The princess learned to navigate her world with the human at her side, facing challenges together. She traveled beyond the capital, visiting distant colonies and neighboring systems. With each journey, she discovered not limitations, but potential possibilities she had never imagined. The human's presence encouraged her to push boundaries, to explore ideas and experiences that had seemed out of reach. And yet, the most profound change was not in her alone, but in those around her. The people began to understand that worth was not confined to physical prowess or flawless form. True strength, they realized, came from courage, empathy, and the willingness to embrace others without prejudice. One day, as they returned from a mission to a remote outpost, the princess reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She thought of the countless moments of doubt, the long years of being overlooked, and the whispered dismissals that had once defined her existence. And then she looked at the human, standing beside her with quiet confidence and unwavering loyalty, and she knew that everything had changed. "You changed everything for me," she said softly. He shook his head with a smile. "You changed everything for me, and together we can change even more." The people saw them together and began to understand the power of choice and acceptance. Alliances shifted, traditions evolved, and a new era began, one where a princess's value was not dictated by the limits of her body, but by the strength of her spirit. In the quiet moments, when the halls were empty and the suns had set, the princess would sometimes recall the early days of fear and isolation. She remembered the longing for recognition and the endless nights wondering if anyone would ever see her worth. And then she would look at the human, her partner and friend, and feel a profound gratitude for the simple question he had asked, "Will you join with me?" It was a question that had altered the course of her life, reshaped her world, and illuminated a path that others could follow. Through their bond, she discovered the essence of hope, courage, and the transformative power of connection. Years passed, yet the memory of that first choice remained vivid. The princess, once overlooked and underestimated, now walked among her people with dignity and confidence. The human remained at her side, not as a savior, but as a partner, a friend, and an equal. Together, they embodied the belief that true value lies not in perfection, but in the willingness to embrace difference, to see beyond fear, and to act with courage and compassion. And so, the tale of the disabled alien princess